Welcome. Hello, everyone.
Tori.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am so happy.
I'm so happy too.
Such an Aussian moment in time right now. So I'm just couldn't be happier.
I know. Oh, say it again, honey. Sing it again.
Couldn't be happier. Thank goodness.
Bravo. Second that. And in just a moment, we'll be talking to the creators behind Ultimate Oz Universe. They'll be joining us live. But first up, CinemaCon happened, and oh boy, people got those first looks at Wicked for Good, and I have tried to avoid. I even started, when I watch your content, and I at the Oz Vlog, everywhere the Oz Vlog is found on TikTok and Instagram and the rest of it, that I was clicking off because I have been avoiding spoilers for this first look at Wicked for Good. You, of course, could not and did not. And so without sharing anything here, how do you feel about it? Without sharing any spoilers here, how do you feel about it?
I feel really confident that this is going to be just as big a phenomenon as part one. And I won't go into details, but it did have two of the major songs from the film featured in this trailer. And I did, just full disclosure, I haven't seen it for myself. Every news outlet that was there gave a beat for beat play-by-play of what happened in it. So I picked a bunch of those, put it all together in sequential order, and I think I have a pretty complete idea of what was in it.
Was cool. And we're of course waiting for when that's going to be released, or when the first teaser or trailer will be released. It could be as soon as this Wednesday if Universal wants to hop back on the Wicked Wednesdays and give us regular treats, or hopefully sometime this month, because I think it was around this time last year that Target and Hot Topic dropped their first Wicked logo t-shirts. I would love to start sporting a Wicked for Good shirt, and that's all going to start happening sooner than later.
Yes, and the folks at CinemaCon did walk home with a bit of For Good merch. They walked home with a tote bag full of snacks. Do keep your eyes. Yeah, I did. It's on its way.
Yeah, I knew you would. I knew it. I need to get one of those so badly. I
knew, because last year, as soon as CinemaCon ended, a lot of the things like the tulips and the passes were all on eBay. So if you guys want that merch, keep your eyes to the western skies on eBay, and you'll definitely find it.
Is that where
I don't have it yet. It's en route.
But as soon as on eBay.
Yes, I did find it on eBay.
Okay, very good. Yeah, that's cool. I've been making private offers to people that attended that are refusing to part with them.
Yeah, some people are going to want to keep it, I'm sure, but a lot of people who were there are just general movie fans. They're not as into Wicked as perhaps the rest of us are, so they're happy to let those things go for a good price. And you will see them pop up more frequently and for less money the further we get out from CinemaCon. So if you guys want to wait for a good deal, that's also totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just impatient.
Also new and available in hands is the Wicked prequel Elphie novel, A Wicked Childhood by Gregory Maguire. It's phenomenal. It's probably my favorite of his 8 Oz books. It's so, don't you just love it?
I really like it because it's very differently formatted from the rest of his novels. I've never read a novel of his that's kind of like this. They're very much stream of consciousness vignettes, very much, especially in the beginning, the way a child would think. I really felt connected to Elphie at 3 years old, because it was written so much like a 3-year-old would explain a situation, in terms of like having little information and bits and pieces here and there, but written so eloquently like he always does. Just genius as usual.
So genius, so genius. And in my recent interview with him, we talked about how much closer this is to Baum's writing than his typical, which is kind of what you're talking about as well. I want to share a clip with you of my recent chat with Gregory Maguire. Over in creating the novel Wicked, you've been quoted as saying that it was spawned from you asking the question of what is evil, what makes one wicked. We certainly see that in the adaptation on stage and screen as well. Was there a question you were asking or seeking an answer to in this prequel, Elphie?
It was not as clear and global a question as what is evil? What do we mean when we use the words evil or wicked? Which I think are probably the most important questions I've asked myself in my life in some ways. But they were nonetheless urgent questions to me, because Ryan, as you know, and as some readers of my fiction will know, Elphaba comes from a kind of dysfunctional family, like most of us. And Elphaba's mother can hardly keep her clothes on, and her father is full of rectitude and right thinking. So what does this do to a child to have those two impulses governing her life, as it were? If she's not well taken care of by her parents, then how does she grow? How does she develop? How does she become smart enough and capable enough and trained enough to be ready to go to college? These were questions that I didn't know the answers of exactly. I wanted to like sharpen the focus and change the focal depth of my understanding of the story, so I could see what it was for Elphaba to open her mouth and sing for the first time.
And boy, does he. And that is great, that exploration. He also talks about whether or not he's begun writing a Glinda prequel and more in my exclusive interview that is at my website, ryanjreviews.com. And you can follow me on all social media at ryanjreviews. It certainly helps Tori and I when you support and follow us. Just those extra numbers.
100%.
Also in the literary world of Wicked, there's the graphic novel.
Oh.
And I know you just blew through this.
Yeah, I mean, truly, I love graphic novels. It's one of my favorite ways to tell the Oz stories, because you can really, there's no bounds to your imagination. And what I love about interpretations of existing works is that you're seeing characters in a way that exist in a totally different way than they exist in your imagination. So I loved the artist's interpretation of characters like Bach, who did not look anything like he looked in my imagination, but it was so fun to see this other person take that on. And this is just a really consumable way to look at this material, which I know for some people is difficult as a read. So definitely check it out if you haven't already, guys.
Definitely. And speaking of graphic novels, there's a very exciting new one coming out. There's a preview copy that we've received from the Ultimate Oz universe. And joining us now, I'm so thrilled to present along with us here on Oz Talk, Larry King, who is the co-author, along with Cullen Bunn, of Ultimate Oz universe, The Lost Lands. It's now available for pre-order, along with Axel Alonso, who is the chief creative officer of AWA Studios, the producer behind Ultimate Oz Universe. That stands for artists, writers, and artisans. And he has a Marvel background, and they do everything from graphic novels to movie adaptations and television adaptations, the rest of it. So it is just perfectly primed for what could be happening in the Ultimate Oz universe. You guys, thank you so much for joining us on Oz Talk.
Thank you for having us.
So nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet you too. So
we noticed. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Larry King.
I was going to say, so what can we tell you about the future of Oz?
Yes. Well, for starters, we just love how comprehensive it is, and thank you so much for the preview copy. It's absolutely exquisite, and it looks like. Let's go back into like the creation of this a little bit. You have an Oz historian on staff of your own, a fellow named Jay Duncan, who founded Shaggy Man Productions, a co-producer on Ultimate Oz Universe. And it looks like he has been very ambitious and motivated in bringing Oz to audiences in many different ways, which seems like it's a perfect partnership with AWA. How did you hook up with him, and how did it decide to become a graphic novel first?
Well, we have a bunch of Oz historians. We actually have Jay Duncan, Julie McNulty, Joey Scott is one of our songwriters. We also have Mike Bunyak. And we've been researching the Oz canon, really focused on the first 15 books, for about 11 years. So this has been something that we've been working on diligently so that at the right time, which, Ozmania is afoot, we could present, what happened in Oz after Dorothy left. I mean, there's so many unbelievable stories that Baum had to share with the public that, I was worried was going to be lost in time. And when Jay Duncan, who's been an avid Oz historian for, since he started when he was 6 years old, he came to me to write some music. And I said, hey, I'm in 100%. And these maps that you guys see on my left are probably the most detailed maps that are out there right now of Oz. This inner Oz circle is really what most people know, and they don't know about the entire universe. Axel is really, as far as world building is concerned, he did it for Marvel and he's doing it for us. So, Axel, I'd love for you to chime in.
Yeah, well, I met Larry 2 years ago. He's a force of nature. He and his business partner, Kevin McCollum, came in with these massive books that showed the development work they've done on a thing called Oz Universe. And I was blown away by it. Again, having been the editor-in-chief at Marvel, I know a thing or two about building and maintaining a universe. So when I saw these books, I realized this is a universe. The Marvel universe has got the real world, Wakanda, Latveria, the negative zone, outer space. So many areas to go to tell stories. Same thing with Oz. There's so many places we have not visited yet. So as a kid who grew up watching Wizard of Oz, again, for me, I had no idea it was only 1% of the story. I had no idea. Larry sold me on that. It's the tip of the iceberg is what you've seen so far. So the idea of building on that universe with these characters is amazing. Mm-hmm. And to see the characters evolve in the course of the story and do things you wouldn't expect was also amazing.
Absolutely. It's so exciting to hear that you're from Marvel and have all that experience, because it was actually Tori who convinced me of the concept of Oz having a multiverse, which of course was made popular by Marvel. Right, Tori?
Absolutely. And, hearing the fact that you saw the movie when you were a kid, one of the questions I love to ask creators in the Oz space is their very first interactions with Oz. Do you guys remember what yours were?
Oh my God. That was my favorite movie. Like, I saw it for the first time when I was 4 years old. So Tori, your pitch is outstanding, by the way. I when you're singing your little bits and ditties over there. Are you aware that Kevin McCollum is one of the biggest producers in Broadway? He did Six and In the Heights and Devil Wears Prada. And
well, hey, if you need anybody,
Tori is castable. She is professional.
I get it.
Let's make that Broadway debut happen, Larry. Come on.
This whole thing started with me as I wanted to write a new musical. So that's how it started. And Kevin's, sat on an airplane ride with him, and all we discussed was how we were going to bring this to the public. And he was the one who suggested making it into a graphic novel. And I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. And he's the one who connected up with AWA and Axel Alonso. And it's like been a marriage made in heaven. And I got to say, Mike Diodato, because you were talking about the adaptations that the artists do. Brilliant.
We got the best in the business. Yeah.
It's unbelievable how he's adapted these characters.
It's true. Axel, let's hear your answer to Tori's question about your first introduction to Oz as we look at some of the artwork here.
I'd have been 4 or 5 years old, sitting on the floor in front of my mom and dad, watching it in Thanksgiving time. I'm out of school. It's this black and white movie that erupts into color. I was really freaked out by the little legs of the dead witch. I remember that vividly. Yeah, it scared the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Leaves an impression on everyone. And as we look here, you really do. I mean, AWA was the place to go for anything graphic novel or comic. I mean, you guys obviously are the top of the field here, and the artwork is absolutely gorgeous. The wording is beautiful. What I love about the storytelling here is it starts kind of, with book 2, The Marvelous Land of Oz. We see Tippetarius running from Mombi. It takes some small liberties with the story, but it also intertwines the end of the proper Wizard of Oz. So we actually see how closely it is tied to Dorothy's departure from Oz, the ascension to the throne of the Scarecrow, and the beginning of the plot of what happens with the rulers of Oz.
And the fact that that is brilliant. Because it's really hard to entertain and educate at the same time. So the more that like you as Oz historians, understand how true we are to Baum's.
That's the key. The key thing is to stress is that this is not fan fiction. This is meticulously researched storytelling that is true to the vision that Baum had for his universe.
Yeah, and there's so much interesting stuff to tell. We were like, why aren't we just focusing on Baum? So
yeah, and that was the thing that excited me most when I read this, because in your foreword here, you talk about the meticulous research that you put into these stories.
Oh, yeah.
What from Baum's universe surprised you the most when you were looking into it?
That everything talks. Everything. Even like you guys are familiar with Toontown?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Jasma. Like even the buildings talk and they move and they dance. I mean, flowers. There was one famous story. And once again, I'm sure you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, where Polychrome steps on a flower and the flower was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And Shaggy Man is like, "You can't step on that flower." And he fluffs the flower up and makes it and apologizes. I mean, everybody has a voice, including Toto, which most people
I know. I was my favorite thing. Tori and I have discussed this previously, but it's like I remember feeling as a child a little bit cheated that it's like closer to the end of Baum's 14-book series where Toto finally pipes up. You know what I mean? And speaks. I was like, oh, there it is.
Well, what's the famous quote? Why haven't you spoken before? And he said, because there was nothing I had to say. Yeah, I love the fact that we're able to share the stories, connect the dots, and bring to people, all the hope and expectation that Baum has created. The classic battle between good and evil. And in your interview with the author of Wicked, that's super important. Is that especially in this day and age, we all have to know and hope and have the expectation that good prevails, and what's interesting is that journey on how it happens. And Baum is a champion when it comes to that stuff. So.
That is another interesting point, because having combed through, I'm sure you guys noticed that a lot of Baum's canon is very all over the place and doesn't always connect. How did you resolve those issues? Did you change?
3 Oz historians reading all the books. I mean, like I'm rereading The Patchwork Girl. It's a nonstop scenario of research and finding something from book 15 that actually, has connectivity. The other thing about Baum is his time is a little askew, but it's not. So you just may have to read book 14 or 10 or 3 or 7 to figure out what was actually going on. I mean, the story that we're telling of Tip and Queen Lurleen, that's the lore, which most people don't know how Oz was created. So we're doing, flashbacks of prequel. There's some amazing surprises coming up in the story, which I don't want to tell. You're going to have to get the book.
Yes. So speaking of, you are releasing different versions. There's going to be, you have a Kickstarter that's launching soon for deluxe. Oh, sorry. This is your Instagram and your Facebook pages. Everyone, we recommend following Ultimate Oz Universe on Instagram, on Facebook for updates. And the Kickstarter is launching soon, where you can pre-order a deluxe edition of the Ultimate Oz Universe, The Lost Lands. Is The Lost Lands a complete story, or is it part one? Okay. And how many more do you plan to do?
A million.
Many as possible. The Lost Lands is the opening story. It sets up the universe and sets everything in motion. We already have plotted out books 2A and 2B to pick up after Lost Lands. Their own stories that move the story forward as well.
Very cool. And I noticed for all that Tori talked about, because it's true, L. Frank Baum notoriously did not pay attention to continuity the way that more modern world builders do in literature. But that kind of gives you guys the opportunity to take some creative license. And like, for example, in The Lost Lands, in the preview copy, you have the special Oz operation.
I knew you were going to mention that. I knew.
Yeah. So you do create some things that are not originally of Baum. How does that come about, and how much fun is it to be able to augment and flex your own creativity as an author yourself?
I was very meticulous about making, like, the Special Ops operations team is based on characters that do exist in Baum's world, like Shirley Sunshine.
Okay.
So there isn't any characters. And you guys know, like, the real story of Nick Chopper and the Tin Woodman.
Yeah.
And his love for Nimmy Amy.
Mm-hmm.
She's also a Special Ops operations team member. Till Loon, who's the daughter of the King of the Loons. And everyone's going, who the hell are these characters? And that's the whole point, is that there's over 1,000 characters. There's over 100 lands, which you guys could see.
I love this because you guys are all nodding in agreement. When Larry's talking with me, I'm thinking, slow down, slow down,
Yeah,
slow down.
exactly.
What I think what's so delightful about this is, and Tori and I have discussed this many times, is that, the Oz fandom, the Oz community, the real Oz universe that we live in here as fans is one that is sometimes divided among loyalists to Baum's work, the written page. Some are just collectors, some are MGM purists, some are just huge Return to Oz fans. So I feel like what you're so aptly naming Ultimate Oz Universe taps into potentially bridging a gap between all these different facets of the Oz community and fandom and bringing them all together, which is fabulous. Will you be merchandising?
For sure.
Well, and that's the whole point.
T-shirts and
It's
hats
like
for
talking
sure,
about
yeah.
the multiverse. Wicked is part of that multiverse. The Wizard of Oz is actually an adaptation of the book. I mean, they the Porcelain City, they left out. The Fuddlecum Jigs, they left out. There's a lot of stories from the Wizard of Oz book that, if you actually read the book, they're really cool places. They just didn't have the technology to bring it to the public at that time. And we do now. So, we need to, like, knuckle down and really show the world what Oz really is. I mean, it's an incredible world and universe, and I couldn't find anybody better than Axel Alonso to bring this to the
And
world.
I'll come clean. I was not an Oz fan when we started. All I saw was potential. I mean,
Right.
I loved Oz as a kid, but I'm not like you guys, But I went through his book. I saw the potential. I thought to myself, this is an amazing universe, such an amazing canvas to work on.
Yeah.
And I'm going to love it.
Yes.
Oh, and Tori, I'm going to send you one of the songs from the musical, but you can't share it with anybody yet. Just
I promise.
Hey, can't I hear it too?
yes, right. I'll totally send it.
But it's so lovely that you're thinking of tapping into all of these different mediums. Oz is one of those unique stories. I kind of equate it to Shakespeare in that it kind of can translate so beautifully between the mediums. So it's lovely to see you guys starting here, but then also writing music. And yes, I saw so much potential for merchandising as a collector. That means a lot to me. Tell me, when can we own the map of Oz behind you, own dolls of these characters? When is this going to be in people's hands?
November.
Well, no, in November 12th, or do we have a specific date?
I have to check on that. I don't know for sure.
That's Axel.
Yeah, it says hitting shelves November of this year. Pre-orders are available now at Barnes & Noble, on Amazon, other places. Again, if you go to ultimateozuniverse.com, which you see here, you can find more information, stay up to date with them. And of course, it leads you to a link to the Kickstarter if you'd like to donate early. It has a beautiful book, a hardcover book that's larger, I believe, and also in a special.
Oh, yeah, the slipcase edition is limited edition. That's for the book collectors like yourselves.
Yes.
Beautiful slipcase edition. Again, better paper stock, oversized, added value features.
Very,
And as
very
a
cool.
gift to the both of you, I have this map along with the Inner Oz map that's 4x4. It's huge.
Oh my
that I'm
gosh.
going to send to you
Thank
both.
you so much.
That is so exciting. Thank
They're
you.
the coolest thing. You could actually like dive into Oz, and you could
Yeah.
stand on them. They're amazing. You know,
That's incredible.
It's amazing.
Tori and I were talking about and geeking out about how beautiful the artwork is. And here's a closer look at your Ultimate Oz universe map. Do you want to talk us through some of the things that you guys really liked about in discovering the land of Oz and its surrounding area?
Sure. I mean, you know, you have the 4 quadrants along with Emerald City, and a lot of people don't understand that. You know, they just know about Munchkin Country and Emerald City. That's why we called it the tip of the iceberg, because and most people don't realize, and Wicked has kind of changed that, that Glinda the Good is from Quadling Country. She's a Southsider. And the Wicked Witch of the West is from Winky Country. And you know, actually being able to put a geography to, you know, where everybody is. Mombi, this Wicked Witch, she's from Gillikin Country, you know, and there's the amount of characters that are from that area, and the fact that they're all color coded, I thought was a brilliant scenario. I mean, Baum created this stuff in like 1900. The female empowerment wasn't a thing back then. But, you know, he grew up with his mother, you know, she was an activist that way. So all this exterior land, all these deadly deserts where you step foot in the desert and you just dissipate, you know. So it's like, it's real fear. There's real fear. There's real joy. There's I think it's called Dork Island. Isle of Dork. The names are amazing, you know. The land of Ev, you know, with Langwidere and
for sure.
The whole Evian royal family. I mean, all these areas are all the subterranean stuff.
Yeah.
There's a whole underground Oz that most people don't know about.
With the gnomes. Axel, with your background and everything at AWA and how apt you are to adaptation from page to screen, big and small screen, where do you see Ultimate Oz Universe landing first? When you've got everything from animation to episodic TV to feature films, what most interests you in beginning that phase of Ultimate Oz Universe?
Well, is it possible to predict the path it'll take? The important thing is there's so many options for the stories. Again, also I'll mention that one of the appeals to me is that you have different stories for different audiences with Oz. There's stories that skew toward young kids, stories that skew toward teenagers and adults, because so many places to go, characters to meet. So again, that'll inform what we do as well. TV and movies makes perfect sense, but also video games, you know.
Yeah, sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. And the most interesting the most interesting thing about Oz to me is there's the legacy characters that everybody knows. Dorothy, Tin Man, which most people don't really know that it's the Tin Woodman, but Wicked has been setting that up rather nicely, actually. And it's interesting watching other people's versions of stories, because you know the real version and you're like, well, that's cool though. You know, you just have to have an open mind and accept, you know, because part of Oz is imagination and creativity and discovery and exploration. So, you know, you can't chastise anybody's version of the story. It's what they think of it. But you know, really the most unbelievable part is most people don't understand that these characters take an amazing futuristic journey. What happens to Dorothy, what happens to Aunt Em and Uncle Henry. I mean, there's an arc, Cowardly Lion, you know, he turns into the lion because he's just not cowardly anymore. You know, and then the introduction of Hungry Tiger, which most people don't know, and his obscurity where he likes to eat, you know, fat babies. Yeah, I mean, we couldn't add that in 1939, but we could do it now. So You know, it's just an incredible scenario to watch the journey of the old characters and see how they relate to the new characters and who's important and why. And you'll discover all of that through our book series. So
This is so
hopefully that
exciting.
answers your question.
Yes. I have one other question, just kind of to philosophize with you for a moment. I'm sure that in your research or with the Oz historians on your team, by the way, Tori and I are also available as consultants. You know, if you look at many Oz projects, some geared toward adult teenage audiences, like Axel was talking about, there was the NBC series for one season, Emerald City. There was the sci-fi miniseries Tin Man. We've seen animated specials like Dorothy in the Land of Oz, or other, you know, the ahead of its
By
time.
the way, we talked to those guys.
Did you? So that's what I'm curious to know. You know, there's over the years, there have been attempts at incorporating other characters and seeing other facets of Oz, or reimaginings, reboots of The Wizard of Oz in one way or another, adaptation wise. But we've never seen such great success as we see with The Wiz, The Wizard of Oz, and Wicked. And those three were all musicals. Do you think that music is vital to the success of an Oz project? And if so, when you adapt, would it be musicalized?
Yes, and yes. Baum was a musician.
Yeah.
He was a songwriter. Everything that he thought about Oz was musical. Without music, Oz doesn't exist. You know, it's a musical land. I couldn't imagine it without it. And Axel, do you want to share with everybody what we're doing with the QR codes?
Yeah, throughout the book, we're going to have interspersed QR codes linked to videos that will show you deep dives into the environment you're in, along with commentary. So it'll be an immersive experience. You'll read the book, and you might be in a location, and you click on a QR code and go to a video with a musical score and a monologue that will explain to you what you're seeing, where you are in the kingdom, you know, and what you're seeing here.
That's really
accompanied
cool.
by amazing art by Diodato.
Has that happened before in comics?
No.
That's really forward thinking. That's brilliant. What a cool immersive experience.
And Oz is really the perfect story for such innovation. Baum was all about innovation and trying new things and throwing everything out and seeing what sticks. So this just fits so perfectly into this 125-year canon. This is so
If you're a casual fan, those codes will be very instrumental and educational for you to remind you this is not fan fiction, this is real. And if you are an Oz historian like yourself, an aficionado, it'll remind you, you'll be rewarded for your knowledge.
Yes, brilliant. Well, we would just like to thank you both so much, Larry and Axel. Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, head on over to ultimateozuniverse.com to stay in touch and find out what's going on with the upcoming release of The Lost Lands. It's available this November. Same time some other big releases are coming out in the world of Oz. And follow them on Instagram and Facebook. Check out their Kickstarter if you want to get the special edition that Tori and I are going to pick up. And again, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure. Thank you for giving us the time.
Hey guys. Bye now.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching. Please share and subscribe.
Bye,
Bye
guys.
Take care.
I love it.